welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton Women. I'm absolutely delighted to be joined again by John. John, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Good, thank you for being here. And we've had a very testing couple of games, shall we say? It's not
Yeah.
it's not been it's not been fun, but we're trying. So I guess we'll start at the beginning. With Leicester 1, Everton nil. To be fair, it wasn't our best game, was it?
No, it wasn't, but it seems to be it's the same story over and over again. And I don't know what that keeper is at Leipzig has against us, but she seems to absolutely become a beast when she plays. As you know, she seems to save her best performances for Everton. But that aside, yet again, it's the same old story we're talking about over and over again. Chances created, very little cutting edge, and you think at some point, is it going to click, or are Everton Women becoming that team? If you liken them to a player who you talk about and go, don't worry, they've got loads and loads of potential. They'll come good, they'll come good, they'll come good. You say it for 3 and 4 years, and then suddenly that player's 24, and you're still talking about potential. And that is something that I think is quite worrying. I mean, fair play to Leicester. They did what they did, got the goal. I don't think we played overly well, but I certainly think we created enough to get something out of it. And yet here we are talking about a 1-0 defeat. And I think, obviously you want to stay optimistic, but I think most Everton fans could see that one coming, really.
Yeah, 100%. And I think we started off strong, but then just kind of lost it in the middle. Like it
Yeah.
just didn't seem together. Like Leicester are such a strong team as
Mm.
well, and they've in the past year as well, they've completely grown and changed their
Mm.
team. So it's just disappointing that this was a very winnable game that we just
Yeah.
couldn't like win and we couldn't execute anything out of it.
Yeah. No, I'd agree with you that I think, and this isn't Brian's fault. This is the case of the injuries. I think the midfield desperately misses. Yeah. I think Aurora Galley's a huge, huge miss. I also think as well, and I think maybe this is more on Brian. I was at the Chelsea game, and the Chelsea game just got to take as red. But I do see him often moving Van Havermaet back. And I just think it's a waste. Yes, naturally she's very tall, she can defend. I just think if you're gonna have the kind of style that Brian wants us to play, she needs to be sitting in front of the back line. I think when she does, I do think Everton are a better team. And I do think sometimes when she's invariably dropped back alongside Megan Finn, be it injuries or change of personnel, I sometimes think we lose it in the middle of the park.
Yeah, 100%. And talking about the Chelsea game, unfortunately, we do have to talk about this one.
We
Um,
do.
it, it was Everton nil, Chelsea 5. I mean, I didn't really expect anything less than that. Chelsea have been such a dominant side in the WSL for the past however many years. It hasn't changed with the new manager. They completely dominated us in defence, in midfield, just absolutely everywhere. John, what were your thoughts on this one?
Exactly the same as you, Chloe, to be honest with you. I mean, I've always been a massive fan of Aggie Beaver Jones. I liked her when she was on loan at us, and I thought she took a goal like a seasoned pro. But you think the scary thing about that side is, and she dominated our defence, is, a fully fit side. You've got all your players. I don't even think Aggie possibly even gets in the squad. I think they're that strong. I thought down, the sides, they really controlled us. And if you're going to measure you as a successful side against playing Chelsea, you're going to end up disappointed. So I think sometimes you've got to look at the positives, really. And I would say a positive, I would have to say, probably a bit of an unsung hero. I thought she had some great sound bites, was Izzy. I thought, I don't really know why she went off. I thought her and Tony Payne were probably the two players that were actually quite willing to get on the ball and have a go. And I just, as hard as it is, you look and take the positives. There wasn't any positives, but maybe Izzy Hobson showing that, he was called the kid, but she's a young player who's certainly shown she's not scared. And I think that's the only thing. If there is a positive to take, Izzy Hobson now knows that she's not really going to play against many better sides, I would say, in certainly in domestic and European football than she's played against Chelsea.
Yeah, exactly. And exactly what you say, Izzy Hobson, she has been absolutely phenomenal and she's still so young as well. And she's just
Yeah.
got her England call up as well, which
Yes.
for the under 19s team, which I think is so well deserved for her. Like I can't think of anyone better to get
Yeah.
into the England squad than her. And again, echoing Tony Payne, like I said about her last time, that I think she's going to go really far and do really well on this side. And I completely agree. I think she's found that confidence now that she didn't have previously,
Yeah.
and she understands WSL football. She understands what her role is, and I again, I'm just excited to see her grow in this Everton side.
Yeah, absolutely, and you know, and I know she got the goal in the derby, and we'll get onto that in a minute. But I think sometimes you've got to, you know, and every manager has the favourite. Every manager has them players that you can rely on. You look through football, men's, women's in general, but I think for me, moving forward, depending on what Brian's going to play, I mean, I think he likes the three forwards. I'd have to say I think Tony Payne has to be down the centre, and I don't see Snodges as someone who can occupy the wide players. I don't think she's fast enough. You know, she works so hard. You know, I thought she took a penalty very very well in the derby, but I think personally she's the one who has to be sacrificed. Not because I think we're giving up on her. I just think she's playing. She smashed home the penalty. I just think she's playing like a player who whether the got Derby goal jogs her, but even before that and after it, she's not playing like a player who you think, well, she's going to get in and score an opportunity. She's going to get in thinking 50-50, she's going to do it. I think moving forward, I think Brian has to make a decision, for me, and has to be sorry out wide, another with Tony Payne. I think that has to be the front three moving forward. I think it's got pace. I think it's got power. I think it's got bite. And I think Tony Payne really has to be, with Tony Duggan leaving and well, I talked about Nikita Paris. I don't know where we were when she was up for grabs, but I think we have to really now look at putting our energies into Tony Payne as she's centre forward, give her those runs of games.
Yeah, 100%. And then our next game was Crystal Palace away. It ended in a 1-1 draw, which
Yeah,
to be fair, I'll take a draw. I'll take any points at this
yeah,
point in time.
of
And I
course,
think
yeah. I
against
think Palace.
Crystal Palace, Crystal Palace, a new team that have just come up. They had their struggles in the game before. We had our struggles, but
Mm.
what ultimately were your thoughts on this one?
Again, I would want to say, oh, it's 2 points dropped, but you know what, Chloe, I don't think the reputation of Everton you can be that arrogant anymore. I think Palace have come up. They've shown that they can produce surprise results. They've also shown they can get basically the backsides handed to them. They're a new side. They're a freshly promoted side, but I like what they do. I thought, part of me wishes she was still here. I thought the addition of Katrine Vi at the back was a very shrewd acquisition. I think that they hit us very very early, which I do think's a worry because I do think Everton are starting to get hit early in a lot of games, and it's almost like we're setting ourselves rather than being level pegging, we're setting ourselves 2-3 places behind. I don't think we've got the firepower to really go and get overturn a lead and turn it as though we're going to win. I think the best thing we go 1-0 down. I think the best thing we hope for is basically is a draw. But I have to say, another one unsung here, we've talked about Garley and missing her. Uh, I think Hayashi's starting to show her potential. I think at first she come in, she's very exciting box to box midfielder, very intelligent, but quite clearly see there's goals in her. And I think if we can sort of get a system where we can get her breaking late, if Van Havermont is going to sit in at the back, or even maybe Van Havermont and Hobson sitting in and having her push forward, even maybe in that almost like number 10 role, then I think we've got a real goal scoring midfielder on our hands there. I thought she took a goal brilliant. I thought it was a fantastic header. Wonderful, wonderful ball by Sari. And I think she was probably the standout thing. It's easy. Oh, she got the goal. She's player of the match. But I thought her all-round performance, a goal really only epitomised and was just an absolutely deserving award for the game she played.
Yeah, completely agree. And I think it is that thing where it's like we are missing so many players at the minute due to injury, due to illness,
Mm.
and it's just and I'll come on to this a little bit later, but the international break couldn't have come at a more perfect time
Yeah.
for us.
But then you're sitting there, aren't you, Chloe? You're sitting there thinking, oh, isn't it great? Is you got, and of course it is. And, you talk of when I will move on to the Irish girls' achievements in a minute, but you're sitting there thinking, please don't come back hurt, please don't come back hurt. Claire Wheeler's been so important for us, and she's slotted in. She is the girl for all seasons, and you're thinking who's going to come back next. It seems Brian, I've been critical of him, but he sits and he starts his press conference. Every press conference he starts with a fresh injury. And there's nothing he can do about that. And as you say, the international break is so welcome, but you're thinking, just come back. I mean, wouldn't it be nice if they thought, right, I'm going to rest all 11 players? God forgive me for saying that, but I'm putting club over country there.
Oh, that was so nice. Like just so many fresh players back. Like,
Yeah,
and then
anything.
anything, I'll take anything at this point.
Yeah.
And then next up, we've got the big one. It was Derby Day at Goodison Park. We've got Everton 1, Liverpool nil. Our first win of the season. It's
Yes.
been a long time coming. It was a very emotional day for everyone involved. I was there,
Yeah.
and you could really feel the emotion of the players, the crowd about this being the final one at Goodison Park. I know you were there as well, John. And what were your thoughts on this game? Because for one, I was quite pleased with it.
I think you've got to be pleased. A derby's a derby, whether it's a very good Liverpool side, a very decent Liverpool side, which I do think Liverpool women are. I think they've got a lot to offer. We kept a clean sheet and we won the game. You have to be pleased. That's the final derby at Goodison. It was always going to be a war of attrition, and I think Everton showed a different side to the game that night, which I do think we need to show a little bit more of. Everyone wants to see the School of Science come back. Everyone wants to see flowing style of football and those majestic moves and plays being fluid. But sometimes you need a plan B. I think the best sides are the sides that can dig in and dig deep and grit it out. I thought Lawley had a great game. I thought she was bang up for it against the former club. Absolute credit to Snodgy. She's had a bit of a crisis of confidence. So I thought she took a penalty like someone who's banging the goals in for fun. Hayashi looked totally comfortable with the derby atmosphere. Megan is a pure tower of strength, but I have to say, if you're going to pick a player this season so far, and I'm not turning around saying I think we did enough to win, but I'm an Evertonian, I'm going to say that. I think we've got to get a look at Courtney. I think
Yeah,
some of the saves she makes and it was almost like you're sitting there and thinking, my God, Neville Southall's sitting there proud of that. Some of the things she saves she pulls out, she inspires confidence in a side that hasn't got much confidence. You can see, Megan, the spine of the side's all there. Megan's very, very comfortable and she's got Courtney behind her. She's a good talk. She's talking to the players. She's not irrational. She won't come out and she doesn't want to be this footballing goalkeeper and this modern day. She wants to be a good stopper. As a good stopper, she's level headed. She doesn't make. No, she made a mistake for the uh, Continental Cup game, but that's what one mistake in about 100 games. I think that game, the derby, just showed that Everton can show a different side, and I think maybe a bit like Arsenal away. I think with the lack of with the lack of personnel, I think we're going to have to do a little bit more of that. I think we're going to have to be prepared to dig down and grit out results. Hit teams on the break rather than let's play it out from the back and let's everyone be let's flow it and that kind of thing and almost try and walk the ball in. So I think the derby was a good indictment of what Everton can actually do. When they need to.
yeah, 100%. And especially Courtney's like double save at the end. I was like,
Yeah.
whoa,
You
it's
know, what I mean,
amazing.
it will be talked about as much as the penalty and the goal itself. That save. I mean, the first one's amazing, but she doesn't sit there admiring herself. She gets up, somehow gets a body part and deflects, and you can even see. I forget who had the shot for Liverpool. They're looking as much to turn around and say, "This is not our night." This lady's inspired, and you could see it in Megan and I think Izzy was on at that point. They were so it was like, "Thank you, keeper. Thank you for being our person between the sticks." And that, a good call. I don't believe any side can be a great side without a great keeper. I think, we're a long way off being a great side, but I do think we've got a great keeper.
Yeah. And Courtney was also named the Player of the Year for the Women's Ireland national team, which just kind of sums up like how incredible she is, not just for Everton, but for her country as well. Like for Ireland, she's also just an amazing keeper. Like she can be heard from she can be heard from here when she plays with them. Like she's
Yeah,
just that she's that vocal and she's that keen on making sure that everyone can hear her, that she's made sure that
yeah,
she gets everything
yeah.
where she needs to be and all of that. Like I rate her so highly and think she's just amazing.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think competition wise, and I know there was like I'm writing something myself about it. Obviously, Emily has had her injury problems, but you're talking about two great keepers, and Emily could really, when fully fit, I think go and get a place in another WSL side, and that is really testament to how good Courtney's been. Courtney has made that number one jersey her own between the sticks. That's nothing against Emily. It's just Courtney, as you say, she's so vocal. I'm not a big fan of keepers being captains, but God forbid if something happened to Megan, she'd be the one I'd pick. Her levels of consistency are so good. She's organised. She's not someone who'll come out and produce an absolutely majestic save and then let the ball go under or play a dodgy pass. That's not her. She continues to work hard. It's almost like, don't thank me for being a good keeper. It's what I do. I want to move on. I want to get even better. And as well as the ability, it's also the absolute attitude of it. And I think, player of the year for a country for 2 years running, it is but an absolutely fitting testament to, I think, probably the most consistent keeper I think the WSL has seen for the past 2 years.
Yeah, 100%. And just while we're on these awards, Heather has also been named as
Yeah.
the Young Player of the Year, which we've not seen much of Heather featured this season
Mm.
yet, but last season I think she was amazing and she played so well. And I'm very excited because she's just coming back from injury as well. I'm really excited to see what she can do with this side as well.
Absolutely, Chloe. Brian is rightfully approaching with caution, shall we say. I think Heather, a bit like Emma Bissell, they're very, very intelligent footballers, and I think Brian has a lot of players in very similar positions and maybe certain players at his disposal that he'd like, or maybe, there's certain areas that he's lacking, but the likes of Heather, they're so clever in their play. And I think Brian, what he needs to do, he needs to try and think of, we can't accommodate everyone, but we need to try and find a system that accommodates our better footballers, that makes plays to our strengths. And for me, a fully fit Heather Payne has to be one of your strengths. She's very, very clever. I'm not sure overly where her finest position is yet, but she's certainly more than capable of a midfield. She's one of them players that when she receives the ball, you know that she's going to retain it. You know that given half the chance, she will begin an attack. And I think a clean bill of health. I don't really see any reason why she couldn't get an extended run in the team. I like this competition up front. The likes of Lawley, and I do think Sari needs a run, but I think she could be pushed further forward. Equally, I think she's also very adept at tracking back. I think what does go under the radar because she is such a technically gifted footballer, much like Claire Wheeler. I think her work rate is phenomenal. You'll find if you look at the stats when Heather Payne plays a full game of football, her stats she'll have covered as much ground as anyone. She's a very very hard working footballer, and maybe her style at the moment is maybe what is stopping Brian taking the handbrake off because he wants a fully fit. He doesn't want to throw it in sort of 70% and then re-aggravate them injuries. But I do think a clean bill of health, Heather, you can see what a country thinks of her. Republic of Ireland's a very, very strong nation. We've got a lot of players. So the fact that she's been named Young Player of the Year with the crop of talent they have, again, shows testament. And it shows that we've certainly got one for the future. But, I think her future, given injury-free, could be now.
Yeah, 100% agree. And then we moved on to our final game, which it was not so good news. It came after cup action, which was Everton nil, United 2.
Yeah.
We've already said Brian's already confirmed that he's not thinking about the cup too much. It's not something that's bothering him. So I've kind of taken this result as a bit of a well, okay. So just gonna get your thoughts on it, really.
Couldn't agree more with you, Chloe. I mean, it's getting boring because we just seem to echo each other's sentiments, but you're absolutely right. it's a bit like a free hit. I don't think he was ever, you could see Bran and people might, maybe misconstrued him as being negative, but I think he saw this as a chance to blood some of the youngsters. And you think of the debuts he handed out, uh, he done that. He given two girls an academy debut. Macy was in and around the side. And people forget Megan's an academy graduate. So I think it was certainly a triumph for the youth. And Man United, yes, they did play what they would say an understrength side, but their understrength side is probably still capable of probably playing in WSL. I think United are one of the few sides that could probably field two sides, and the second team could probably still do quite well. Yes, it might sound a bit negative, and yes, it's probably going to be another Continental Cup where we don't get out the group, but Brian's always prioritised the league, and then FA Cup. I think he just sees the as the League Cup as a bit of maybe of a breeding ground to try new young players. And on that, maybe I know you're the host, but I'd like to get your thoughts on something. Izzy Hobson, I think it's a third or fourth position she has played this year. I think personally, I would rather see us as a back four rather than a back three. I don't think we do that, but I thought Izzy gave a great display at fullback. I think she's tenacious. I think she's better on the ball than she's given credit for. She's confident. I actually thought she delivered a brilliant performance at right fullback when she got player of the match, and I wonder, has Brian inadvertently unearthed something there? Have we got potentially, I think in time she's going to grow into a defensive midfielder, but have we for the time being got a bit of a teenage fullback on our hands there? I thought Izzy give a really, really good, display that she can actually play anywhere. And I think if anything's come out of it is the fact that we may be seeing that the future is actually quite bright for us.
Yeah, I think she did really well at right fullback. Like I was quite shocked. I mean, I couldn't work out why she was playing at first. I was like, I don't.
Yeah.
Where's he playing? Like, is she there? And I was like, oh no, she's fullback. But I think she did really well, and I think that's a position that I could definitely like see her in within the next couple of games because she's a player who she had her debut last year. She was amazing in that debut, and now she's just kind of come through like leaps and bounds. And Everton has always been a club that's been about like the academy players. Like it's kind of been built around academy players. Like you said, Meg
Mm.
Finnegan was an academy player and has been for like the and came up through the ranks. And
Yeah.
Brian is always so keen on the academy players getting a shot, getting a go, whether it be a cup game, whether it be a game at Goodison. Because for the Chelsea game, he introduced quite a few um academy graduates. And it's something that I've always loved about the club. It's something I've always admired about them. It's something that has been one of my favorite things about the club, and I hope that continues. And again, we sound very negative talking about the cup game, but we're also being realistic here that we would prefer the league over a
Yeah.
cup. And I just hope that this Izzy right back continues because I'm
Mm.
really enjoying it.
Yeah, I agree. I'm on board. I think our next game's Tottenham. It's an away game, and I'd love to see him try it because you're looking at the stats. Tottenham score a lot, but Tottenham also concede a hell of a lot. And I do think with the personnel we have, I have always envisaged Everton as a 4-3-3, but a flowing 4-3-3 with three, fast forwards and a midfield three that's, I think really almost like right in front of the back four would be Justine, which would I think would allow two other midfielders. I think Wheeler would have to occupy one of them parts. But I think with Izzy as a right back, I think actually, and playing Claire Wheeler on the right of that midfield three, I think they dovetail. And I do think they would present problems to Tottenham's fullback because they have quite a wide style that likes coming forward. And I think we perhaps give them certainly on the right something to worry about. And let's be honest, the WSL has improved greatly, and that's exactly what we want. But Megan gave some very, very, very honest, not so much worrying, but certainly food for thought. We can't get left behind. The club is in at the moment a transitional stage. The whole club is the freaking group going to come in and take us over. Is the manager going to stay on the men's side? Is the manager going to stay on the women's side? So I think doing what we have to try and make the best of what we've got. We've got no choice until we can maybe get those bodies back. And I think look away at Spurs. they're going to want to come and score goals, and chances are they will score goals. So if they're going to do that, I think we need to be prepared that we're going to have to score goals. And I think not only is he gives us a lot of bite on the right, I think her ability to come forward, the kid has bounds of energy, and I just think with maybe Megan talking to her in a flat back four with Claire Wheeler on that right side of that midfield three, and maybe Lawley on the right side. You've got a lot of experience there that can help her through, but also encourage her to play a game. Claire Wheeler's clever enough that would sit in at right back if Izzy gets forward and gets stranded up front. I think about a 4-3-3, dare to say it, I think it was the way Liverpool used to utilise it when they had Fabinho in the middle and they used to push the fullbacks. So we couldn't really defend, let's be honest. Alexander-Arnold's not a great defender. But I think Izzy Hobson, who is a better defender, but also you could utilise her going forward because she does have that confidence on the ball. She is forward thinking, she's a kind of Brian player, but she's got that real little bit about. And I just think right back at the moment would be a real good place almost for her to learn a trade rather than being in the middle and maybe being a bit more of the spotlight. Be out there and look after your midfielder, but also as well give their fullbacks something to worry about. Get forward, maybe form a bit of a partnership with Lawley, and a bit of a trio with Claire Wheeler. I think that would represent quite a strong right side. And I think now Brian has to try and look at forming some partnerships. I don't think Everton at the moment has a lot of partnerships. I think it's so, with the injuries and with his style, it's so flowing. We haven't really been able to sort of lock in those partnerships. We haven't really been able to build that understanding, which I think is a crying shame because the likes of Hayashi, I do believe, really will thrive. I'd love to see Van Havermar, Wheeler, Hayashi in that kind of midfield because I think that you've got intelligence there, you've got good ball players, but you also got steel. And I think that suddenly starts to look like a better team. But I do think Izzy Hobson personally could be pivotal, certainly away from home. With a side, Tottenham want to come and play, and I think Izzy enjoys that. I think she enjoys a side coming on to her. She's certainly not frightened. She's certainly not going to want to be a player who's going to want to. I think she'd rather have that battle. She can put on a few bone crunching tackles, and I think she enjoys that. So I'd love to see Brian try something like that, and think, well, we're getting to the turn of the year, we're getting to that sort of mid-season break. We've actually got a real chance of turning Tottenham over here with the defensive record, and I just think maybe that kind of system might do it.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree. So we are now into an international break until the 8th of November. 8th of December, rather.
It's
It's
a good
still
memory,
really
yes.
November. 8th of December. Got to get it right. My hopes for after international break are it's a good time for players to rest and we want to have a selective international duty for them to rest and hopefully we'll get some more back and we can give Tottenham our all because I reckon Tottenham would be a battle because they're also struggling at the minute and fighting for points and also have key players missing. So just a little preview of Tottenham, but I'm kind of hoping we can get some away. I'm kind of thinking maybe a draw. We'll get maybe a draw with them, which is what I'm kind of hoping for. Because it's a point, and at the bottom of the table where Everton are is so tight at the minute. I think there's something like 1 or 2 points separating all 5 teams. So a point, I'll just happily take a point, to be honest.
I'd agree. I would agree with you there, Chloe. And I don't think we're being negative in that. And as you say, people say 2 points. I do believe West Ham was 2 points dropped. I don't. And now looking at, I think Palace was a point gained. I really do. And I think if we could get something from Tottenham, I think it would be a point gain. And all I would say is I'd be very surprised if there wasn't goals in it. I think Everton's defensive record is poor, largely probably to do with Brighton smashing us and Chelsea smashing us. None of those goals came in those 2 games. But I think there's a real chance to score goals. As you say, they are missing a few key players, Spurs, much like ourselves. So, you go and get a point. As you say, you're not losing. And the thing is, even if one of the teams in and around there win, chances are it's going to be one of the teams in and around there losing. City aren't in the mood at the moment for getting beat. Chelsea look unstoppable. And then you'd always get the odd freak result. Villa, I think a few seasons back, it was us and Villa vying for who's going to get in the top 4. Now, I think Everton Villa are realistically, unless something drastically changes, it's going to be Everton Villa fighting, can we get in the top 6? I think Spurs fancy being in the top 6. And I do think a good performance, obviously you want to win, but I think a good performance against Spurs and go and get something makes a bit of a statement. It says, well, actually, you've got to, I think you've got to look at Chelsea and City are miles away. Arsenal, I still think are well ahead of us, but I don't think they're wonderful. United, I think have been solid. I think Liverpool finishing fourth. I don't think they're quite going to hit the heights they did before. But there is like a sort of breakaway element in the WSL, and I think it's very, very important that at least Everton maintain that middle ground that Brian's worked towards. And obviously, if you could better his first season finish, that would be great. But at least try and maintain it. And if you are going to do that, then you need to be thinking about picking up points on the road against the likes of Spurs, who will give you chances. They've conceded goals. I watched them against Palace. They will give you chances. And I think we need to sort of, well, first and foremost as well, the oldest adage in football, you got to put them away. And whether that's going to be Snodges is going to come to life with a few little goals. I think she's quite a streaky player. She gets a few goals, then it goes missing. Or Heather Payne's going to take Tony Payne's going to take the reins, or there's going to be someone who's going to pop up and show them they're a good goal scorer. But yeah, I'd like to see, I'd like us to play with a bit of a confidence, but I'd also like us maybe to incorporate a little bit more grit that we've done against the likes of Arsenal. Probably our most impressive performance so far, and against Liverpool, our only win so far in the league.
Yeah, 100%. Completely agree with everything you've just said. But yeah, it's a tough league. It's tough for everyone, not just Everton, but it's just a tough side. So yeah, our next game is a Tottenham away, and a huge thank you to John for joining me today. And I'll start that again. John can cut that, will be fine. Um, and make sure you like and subscribe and leave a comment down below. And thank you for watching.